Hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Today, I'm your host, Timuchin, and with me, we have the usual suspects from the last few weeks, actually. We have Jamie. How's it going, sir?
Not too bad, sir.
And we do have Parker again. Parker, how is it going?
Not bad. Thanks for asking. Looking
So-
forward to the Thanksgiving holiday for those of us that are Americans.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone,
Yeah,
including
so
the non-Americans.
As a Turkish guy, Thanksgiving brings a ton of lame turkey jokes.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that until
every
just
year,
now.
Yeah, every year I hear at least 100, so it kind of takes its toll after a while. It's
Yeah,
more
I can
like-
imagine.
Yeah, it's like body blows. Okay, so let's take a look at. I mean, obviously not the best game today. Liverpool lose to Atalanta at home 2-0. Could have been worse. Obviously, could have been a lot better. But let's start talking about the game first a little bit. Obviously, it's disappointing. I hate going online after losses or bad results because the overreaction squad is out and about, firing all over the place. The joined by the hindsight squad, now ripping the lineup and stuff like that. So let's talk about the game a little bit. Obviously, like a disappointing score, but you look at the lineup, it could have been gone a lot better. It wasn't. When I saw the lineup, I was like, this is not bad. This is a lineup that can compete. I think to me personally, the most disappointing part was the players that we probably kept out of the 11, or at least, the top tier of players that we put out there. You really needed them to perform to be able to carry some of these young guys and protect these young guys, because we had like 3 19-year-olds out there. So that was kind of the hope, and they really did not have it today. Mo didn't, Mane didn't, and stuff like that. But let's start with the lineup. I mean, we talked about it in the last podcast in terms of how impossible it was to come up with the lineup. So let's start with you, Jamie. Let me ask you this, because the hindsight squad now is saying that, we should have gone with the strong lineup, get a lead, and then start subbing, which in an ideal world and maybe in Football Manager on FIFA works, but putting the strong squad out there does not guarantee that you're going to have a lead. But what did you think of the lineup when you first saw the 11?
Well, I mean, like you said, the hindsight squad are out in full force, and why not? It's 2020. Hindsight, after all, is 2020.
I wanted to make that joke.
Had to make that dad joke. I mean, like you said, when the lineup came out, and Champions League, the lineup always comes out nice and early. I was quietly confident. Good to see the youth. Good to see a mixture of class and experience throughout the team. Good to see Mo back, etc. So I was quietly confident. But the hindsight squad, I'm sure, will say we were the lesser team on the day. The no shot thing really bothered me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably was like the worst. And obviously, we were the worst team out there today, but I just don't know. I mean, you obviously could put out a stronger lineup, but I mean, that's what I hate that's why I hate going online after scores like this. But, if we won this game with an early lead, whatever, but in the 25th minute, Genie or somebody like, let's say, who do we rest? Like Bobby gets injured, or Fabinho gets injured, like a muscle injury or something like that in the 25th minute. These people would be like, this game was not that important. Why do we put these people out there and stuff like that? So you can't win that argument. You just kind of like look at, I mean, when I saw the lineup, at least I thought, and we talked about it on our Discord channel, I thought it was a good mix overall between experience, quality, with some youth thrown out there and some freshness in terms of legs and age, I guess. But what did you think, Parker, in terms of like when you saw the lineup come out first?
To put it in short, it's the lineup I expected, not the one I wanted. I would have wanted us to play a little more of the youth, honestly, not have, Sadio and Mo out there personally, just because of, like you said, that injury risk. I'm a very big proponent of trial by fire. That's how, my dad always coached, and one thing he always told me, and my dad's been coaching for longer than I've been alive, granted basketball, but still same concepts apply, that you improve a lot more playing against someone that's far greater talent than you than beating on a squad that you're better than. And I think that games like this, where ultimately it's not that important, we still have 2 more games left for the Champions League. One of them is going to be pretty easy match. The other's Ajax. This is the time where we should be playing our youth. This is the time where we should be playing, the kids and the guys that don't get a lot of playing time, to help them improve, to get them that experience against a high quality opponent, instead of playing, the Gummy Bear FA Cup matches that they end up playing against, a League 3 team. Yeah, okay, surprises like Shrewsbury can happen, but still, ultimately, they're not going to improve as much playing against a team like that as they will playing against Atalanta. So I think we should have been going more all out with starting our young guys and starting our youth. I'm not 100% sure how that works out with the eligibility stuff with the Champions League, but I still think it was risking more than we really should have.
See, you kind of, once the test results were negative, you figured, Mo would be out there just because he didn't play the weekend. So obviously, in terms of being fresh as a forward, he's the best we had. Divock, which we'll probably get to, because I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on a few of the players, and not to put shift the entire blame on them, because honestly, when you look around, it was just disconnected and below average overall. I couldn't tell you. Well, at least he played pretty good, because there was really nobody that played really well. I mean, everybody had some really sloppy passing, even our midfields that battled, ran, won some balls and stuff like that, but the distribution was so sloppy. It was almost slow, just disconnected, and kind of shows to all those Bobby haters probably of how, Bobby kind of brings the front three together. But so let's, before we get to those players, so the first half is kind of like a mopey, sleepy 0-0, where really they had the chances. Obviously, we never shot on goal the entire game, so they didn't have it the first half. And you could almost sense that they would get more opportunities and they might, finish one off. So in terms of the substitutions, that's probably one thing I didn't get. If we were going to get these guys in to rest some of the guys out there and kind of they had 45 minutes in them, or, I highly doubt they only had 25 minutes in them. Do you guys think that was late? Obviously it was minutes and a half or whatever late in terms of when the goal came. But overall, I personally expected, knowing that we have 5 subs, at least 2 of them coming in at halftime, and they were warming up. So you almost thought, Jota would be coming in, maybe Robertson would be coming in. But did you guys expect any subs? Were you kind of disappointed that we kind of trotted the same 11 back out there, having seen the lack of action the first half?
Yeah, I seen Robbo get warmed up 3 or 4 different times and take his jacket off and get ready to go, and it was nothing happened. So I don't know. It was just, like you said, disjointed. It's hard to put the blame on any one man, but I don't know, just disappointed, but not the end of the world, still top of the group, right? Aren't we?
Oh yeah.
We're
up by 2 points still. All we have to do, is win one of the games, or at least I think even if we tie Ajax, we kind of almost it's in the bag, just because of the first score obviously we had against Atalanta, and they had to play each other, so there can only be one winner out of that when we play our last game. But I think in terms of, the difference between over the weekends, let's face it, this team plays a lot better when the pressure is on them and they have to perform. And so going out to a game where it's cool if we win, they're still human. And, obviously you have all these youth players that, they're still young. So, and these guys are kids. So they're even kids compared to freaking Parker, for God's sake. So they're like kids. So, so you kind of like have to expect, the Champions League, they realize it's the big stage and a big experience for them and stuff like that. I mean, there's a difference between taking a guy like Fabinho out of his position, put him in center back, taking a guy like Milner out of his position and putting him at right back. Those guys are still experienced players that can handle the situation, know what to do, been there, done that. And there's something to be said about, playing with players, regardless of quality, because, the runs they're going to make and stuff like that. It just felt throughout the fields that it was like very disconnected overall. So let me come to the questions in terms of like players and see where you guys are at. I mean, like I say, looking around, I don't think, like Jamie's saying, we can put the blame on anybody, specific at least. Some were more poor than others. But to me, there were some players who got an opportunity to kind of like show what they can do, and they just did not make the most out of it. And, when you talk, look at a guy like Reece Williams, which, the second goal, obviously, he let his guy go, like kind of lost him for a second, and that's all it takes. Nico, I thought like struggled overall, but you can't just pick one person because I thought that was throughout. But to me, the one that stood out the most, because before the game, even when we saw the lineup, I was like, this is a huge game for Divock to kind of like reestablish his position in terms of the first guy off the bench, a guy who can come in and score, make things happen and stuff. So Parker, let's start with you. So what is your take on our friend Divock right now?
He was not good. I mean, you can't blame just him, like you were saying before. He was, I want to say far from the worst, because I think he was in good contention for the worst personally. But,
yeah,
he wasn't the only player playing like garbage compared to.
It was poor overall, but in terms of getting the opportunity, I mean, you look at certain players that were out there today to kind of claim, their position in the squad for the long term. I mean, I thought, right. For Divock especially, I mean, Nico is not going to be like, oh, he played great. There goes Trent,
Right.
Nico knows when Trent comes back and stuff, that's not his position for the time being. He still has like more growing up to do. But for a guy like Divock, especially with like Jota coming in, like doing what he's been doing.
Yeah.
You have to bear in mind his ranking in terms of when he comes off the bench is going lower and lower and lower. He was the first one off the bench. So I thought it was a big opportunity for him to be able to kind of show what he can actually do. And it doesn't help that Mo and Mane on the wings did not have the best games. But, man, he kind of looks lost.
Yeah, he looked like I don't want to read too into it, and I don't want to, make too much of a claim, but I feel like he just doesn't care that much anymore. I didn't feel that same passion that we saw, a couple Christmases ago against Everton against Barcelona. I didn't see that same drive, that same hunger, that same passion. And, maybe it's just that to him, the writing's on the wall. He's behind not only the regular front three, but also Jota now. I don't really know, but like it wasn't there for him.
Really, it's interesting that you say that. I mean, to me, because he always comes across, and when you listen to some of the interviews and stuff, they talk about him in terms of he seems so calm all the freaking time, even when he scores like a ridiculous goal. I mean, I think it was that Everton goal, wasn't it? Like he picked up the ball, like he's gonna go and start the game again, like we were playing from behind or something. Was that guy? I'm pretty sure that was that game where he scores the goal and he grabs the ball like he wants to do a kickoff real fast or something.
Yeah, I can't remember.
He's always like the calmest guy, even like his celebrations and stuff like that. I mean, I personally think it's confidence more than anything else. But Jamie, what's your take?
When you're talking about Divock, like the difference between him and a player like Jota is Jota can like grab a game by the scruff of the neck. I feel like Divock has his moments, has his spectacular moments. Obviously, we've all witnessed them. They'll live long in our memory. But the the service has to be just right for Divock. The rest of the team have to be on their game as well. Whereas a player like Jota can turn a half chance into a goal in a heartbreak. I feel maybe I'm simplifying it too much. Maybe not. I don't know. I like him. It's just his time had probably come, and then we signed Jota, and it was like, all right, now it's kind of, could we recoup any money from him? Does he want to be happy someplace else, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, I like, he wasn't trying too hard, or he's not, he's not doing anything wrong. He's probably performing really well in training. He's probably doing excellent work, but it's just, you can't just waltz in and out of a team like that without losing some cohesion, losing some of that gel, and possibly losing some of that passion that Parker was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it just feels like off. And I personally think it's a confidence thing. Maybe we did overvalue him at one point and did not take like any of the offers that came our way. But then we obviously went out and spent the money on Jota, and it's been obviously paying off. But you're right. I think, he's not the kind of guy that is always, I mean, he has a signature move where he kind of like cuts in and takes a shot with the right. But aside from that, he's not a guy who's going to create a lot. He's a guy who's going to make runs behind, and it wasn't a game of that kind where he could make runs behind, because really, let's face it, I mean, give the Italian team the credit. I mean, they smartened up over the first game, and they played a lot smarter in terms of sitting back a bit more, not letting those runs behind.
Absolutely, and they'll have a point to have made as well. That they would have taken that very personally. That was on their home turf.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is on our home turf, and fair play to them, because they came out and played like they had something to prove. So fair play to them. But again, it just adds some validity to what Klopp's saying about the scheduling and losing players and the turnaround. And maybe tonight was Divock's greatest opportunity, and it's difficult like that. You can't just, the first opportunity you get, you can't just grab it. It's not as easy as all that. But I do feel bad for him. It wasn't a great game. He didn't cover himself in glory.
Jumping off that point too, that this is something that I've seen brought up a little bit today, is this is one of those games where having Anfield behind us would really make a great deal of difference. Having that rallying cry, I think, would have helped us out a lot. And obviously we can't do that right now, but I'm curious to kind of where you guys stand on that, because I think
when that first goal would have went in,
difference.
Yeah, when that first, there was only 4 minutes between the first goal and the second, right? So here's exactly what happens with a full Anfield. 1-0 down, we get louder. That's like, and I just, a full Anfield would have been a cauldron, and from the get-go, from the first minute, not even responding to a 1-0 down. I
think so. It just brings a different level of energy to even like start the game, from the moment you come out and stuff. Having said that, I mean, the flip side of that would be, how would the young guys react to that? I don't know if that's more intimidating for them as well, as opposed to, almost like playing it like a training session where they just hear Jurgen yell on the side and, like Milner and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it would have definitely made a huge difference in terms of being able to get some energy into the team. And not only that, I felt like, I mean, in all fairness, he kind of called it both ways, I would say, for the ref. I mean, decent game overall, but man, he was letting everything go. So at least it was both ways, which I can live with if you're kind of refereeing it even across the board. But I mean, people, every time they tried to control the ball, they were being kicked from behind, and he was just letting everything go. I mean, most of those would be called, and the refs will deny it, but it's bullshit. If you have a crowd that's overreacting to that, you kind of anticipate that before you make calls, and it gets adjusted. I don't care what refs say. So there's like a big influence that the crowd would have made that way. So yeah, I mean, obviously that's gonna. There are certain clubs and teams that probably get hurt more by the lack of fans than others who kind of like feed off of that. I mean, like in terms of like big teams, like to me, like a team like Arsenal, for example, is probably happy that there are no fans because that crowd can turn on them really fast. I mean, yeah, they have like great fans and that atmosphere can get going, but if things are not going their way, that's that fan base can turn on the team really fast mid game, especially with what has happened over the last few years. So whereas you look at a club like us, it is like an energizing force, and it's a force that can pick a team up when it's down, like Jamie's saying, or even from the get-go can kind of have you like start with more energy. So definitely losing out in that factor. I mean, the whole like the Anfield magic kind of like goes away with that. I mean, even when you lose at home today, did it really feel like a loss at home?
No,
Right.
it was just, yeah. I mean, on the note of the fans, just sorry to hijack the podcast from you there from a second, Temujin. But obviously today was the news that Diego Maradona passed away. So rest in peace to the Argentinian goat.
Yeah.
But here's a quote
One.
that
Oh.
that we're sort of talking about the atmosphere and what the fans can do. This is about the 2005 final. Obviously, a different scenario than a group stage Champions League, but Diego Maradona is quoted as saying, "I've now made Liverpool my English team. They showed that football is the most beautiful sport of all. The Liverpool supporters didn't let me go to sleep the night before the final. There were 10 of them to every 3 Milan supporters. They showed their unconditional support at halftime when they were losing 3-0, and they didn't stop singing." So, I mean, obviously it's a different scenario, but it's, we all remember what happened then. So, like,
Hey,
it's
I always, I've talked about the shame in our family. My brother, who's a United fan, who happened to be at that game because obviously it was in Istanbul, and I mean, he even said that it was just amazing the way the fans sang at halftime on a game where we were, losing 3-0 to like an objective outsider. That was amazing. I think, yeah, the fan base can really do a lot in terms of like, like pick up the slack and get some energy to the team. Just get behind the team instead of like turning on the team. But so before we continue, like you brought up like Diego Maradona, who is a player, Parker has rarely probably seen,
Yeah.
but as highlights only. But I mean, I obviously grew up watching. I was actually amazed today, and I can kind of understand it. I mean, obviously, we're in a lot of like Liverpool groups and stuff like that, and obviously, a lot of the fan base is from England and thing. And I was really amazed to see the hate on Diego. And I can kind of understand why, I guess, if, he scored with this, if he swatted the ball into the nets against Turkey in an important game like that, maybe I would have a bit more hate in him as well. But man, he was some player. And it was one of those guys that whenever he got the ball, you kind of stopped and watched because he was going to make something happen. I mean, it was, yeah, I mean, obviously, like you can go on YouTube and see his, highlights. You can see his warm up thing with Life is Life, just juggling that ball and stuff. But I mean, his story, I know he's had like, like drug issues, some political issues and stuff like that. But, to a fan of the game, I just look at the player and like his rise from, like being a kid playing on the street to like what he became. And man, what a player he was. I mean, you just drool just watching the dude with the ball. The
so
ball looked like a
effortless.
part of his body,
Yeah.
man. He just looked so freaking natural. He was just like ridiculous. So yeah, definitely. I mean, like I say, I know he had like a lot of health issues over the last, decade with like drugs and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I was like, when I saw it this morning, I was like, damn. And that's the first thing is I texted my brother because, I remember like growing up just watching that dude and say, did you freaking see that? That second goal, okay, like the handball goal,
The
maybe with
hand of
VAR wouldn't
God,
Hand
happen
of
yeah.
now.
God.
But
Yeah.
that second goal he had against England, and I think he
My
did it right
God.
afterwards to Belgium, just weaving through people. I mean, seriously.
Somebody said, I think some English player, I can't remember who it was, but who was on the team at the 86 said, if the first goal didn't stand, the second goal should have counted for 2. It was an amazing goal. If you haven't seen the goal, go on YouTube, check it out. Against England in 1986, he scores the hand of God. But another quote, because look, it's Diego Maradona. And I completely get the hatred for the handball goal because Thierry Henry done it against the Irish, and I'll never forgive him. As much as a genius as that man was, I'll never forgive him. He'll never be in my top 10, put it that way. But Diego Maradona is quoted again, "Sure, the English may very well hate me, but the Scottish and Irish love me, and that's all that matters." So, you gotta love that that close connection with genius and insanity and the dark side, and George Best had it as well. A fantastic player. Obviously played for Man United, but Northern Ireland as well. There's a great clip from George Quist. Oh, Gascoigne as well, another bad man. But George Best as well. There's a great clip of him. He loses his boot, his football cleat, as look at me dropping Americanisms. And so he
proud of you.
So proud of you. So loses his boot. 2 players are on him. Dribbles past 2 players. Dribbles past his boot. Picks up his boot. Puts the boot back on and continues playing football. It's mad. But these geniuses do have a dark side. So I can understand the hate, but there's many more who admire him, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, he was an icon of the game, kind of like you referred to already. Obviously, a wee bit before my time, but same thing with Pele. Just absolute icons of the game that even people that don't know about the sport that much, they know about. They know about Pele, they know about Maradona, they know about Ronaldo, Messi, Beckham. I would say it's a very, very short list of players that are universally known by people. And I would say Maradona is absolutely one of them. And I think part of that is due to obviously the off the field kind of stuff, but I think definitely as well as the hand of God kind of really brought, whether you want to call it fame or infamy to him as a player. He's still someone that's an athlete that anyone knows, even if they're not into the sport itself.
And I think sometimes it's kind of hard to kind of gauge a player. I mean, thank God, we're not that old with Jamie where we watch Pele play, but
right.
so you see kind of highlights from a player, but it's just not the same. I mean, yeah, you can go on YouTube right now and watch Pele and watch Maradona and these guys and highlights and stuff like that. But there's something to players like that when you're watching them live in a normal game. And I mean, we have players like that now. I mean, just think of closest person in terms of on our team right now, I would say is probably in terms of you kind of stop and say, what is he going to do? You have no idea what he's going to do. It's
Harvey
probably
Elliott.
Sadio.
Harvey Elliott.
I would probably say Sadio, not even Mo. I would probably say Sadio because I mean I've actually read interviews where even his teammates are you never know what the hell he's gonna do, and that's what makes him hard to defend. But there are only certain players where you're you kind of you're watching the entire game, but it's almost in a corner of your mind that person has the spotlight wherever they're on the field, and when they get the ball, it's what is he gonna do? I mean, I remember when I first came to the U.S. And started watching American football. So this will be an American reference for, the regular football fans who are new to soccer. Barry Sanders was a guy like that to me. When I first started the sport, I didn't know anything about the sport, kind of watching it, but I was like, man, I don't know what it is about this dude, but whenever he gets the ball, it's something crazy is going to happen. He's going to make something weird and, just do an extraordinary play whenever he gets the ball. So there are only every generation and every sport has certain players, and definitely Maradona was one of them. I mean, obviously, if you're Parker's age, the best you'll be able to do is go and watch highlights. But even that is better than nothing, man. Because definitely, if you love the sport, you gotta watch this dude do his thing.
Don't mind me. I'm just googling Barry Sanders.
Played for the Lions. the only good player we ever had. I could do a whole podcast on.
I'm using this podcast to kind of get Jamie accustomed to American sports at the same time. So let's go back to the game, and I had one more other player that I wanted to kind of ask your guys' take because I was personally.
Sorry. don't mean to
Shocked.
cut you off,
Go
but
ahead.
before we get rolling, I have one short thing before my side cut off about the ref. We actually saw Sadio screaming F you to the ref. I don't know if you guys saw that video, but
No.
it was, I don't remember at what time. Let me see. In about the 38th minute, 37th minute, there was like
I'm
some
writing this down. 38th
dumb
minute.
foul.
No,
37, to be exact, 37 minutes and 13 seconds in.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's some dumb foul. We were on the attack, and
I think
one of
is
the
that the one
Atalanta
like he
players
was on
trips
the
up.
like almost about to get into the box between like
Correct.
2-3 guys? Okay.
Yep. And he gets a foul called on him, and you just hear him screaming very clearly at the ref, a big F you, which I didn't notice it when I was watching the match, but I saw a post on Reddit. I don't remember if it was after or at halftime, but I was like, huh. I don't really see Sadio doing that. He's more of the soft-spoken, jolly types, but damn, even the ref even pissed him off.
the red mist during the game, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Which,
could
I
turn
mean,
even
I
the
almost-
nicest, the most humble of guys into a lion. Which I mean, his new ad promotion for
Yeah,
New
for
Balance is
New
the lion.
Balance.
So
Well, I've always seen him as someone who I always joke, the man only knows football. I remember right at the start of the restart, they were when they were just starting to do the taking the knee for Black Lives Matter. It was
Yeah.
one of the first
Yeah.
games.
he
Whistle
didn't even
blows,
know.
everyone takes a knee, except Sadio just goes full tilt, sprinting towards
Yeah,
the
just
goal.
like the ultimate false starts.
Yeah.
Gets
I
a
don't-
good
of
gets a good
course.
like 5 steps in, looks around. Oh shit, kneels down.
Of course, Sadio would be right there with them. Obviously, a brilliant cause, and he's not trying to disrespect or anything. It's just crazy.
No, it's just he's that
It's a
focused.
DNA.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was comedy gold. Like I just had to laugh internally when that was happening because it was priceless.
Yeah.
The man is the kindest of generous souls there ever is, and there he is, just off on his run, trying to get his goal. Like,
See, I gotta go back and watch that now because that is odd coming from him. The ref was Spanish. So
I can send you a link to it.
So going back to the game, what did you guys take on? Because I was almost shocked not to see him. I was almost like shocked to see the entire same midfield come back out again. Actually, after like the shift they put in against Leicester, but Minamino Taki, like, were you guys shocked not to see him out there until he came in at the very end? Which I was really concerned. I hope there was nothing wrong with Matip, and that's why he came in because it kind of seemed like a last ditch in 6 minutes to go coming in, but. Were you guys shocked not to see him instead of, for example, like where Curtis was, maybe?
I would have started him personally.
Yeah, you would have.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's there yet. I don't know if he's there. Like defensively, I'm talking about.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's probably like one issue. I mean, I feel like he's sometimes, the guy is full of uncontrolled energy. It almost looks like when you watch him. Like it feels like, when the adults are playing and you put a little kid in, you're like, hey, you want to play with us? And he'll just go out there and like run his butt off, but kind of like not in sync with the rest. Like, man, this kid has a lot of energy, but he doesn't know what the heck he's doing. He always reminds me of that in terms of like how he plays or how he runs and pressures the ball and stuff like that. But I have to say, I was kind of like shocked that he didn't get a start or at least get more minutes. And maybe he would have been the one coming in if he weren't behind or something like that a lot earlier. But I was kind of shocked not to see him get more minutes. I mean, you would think if like Shaq was healthy, he would be out there. So I thought since he was healthy, fresh legs, he hasn't played. I thought he would be out there. I know he's not a big investment in terms of like money wise, but it's kind of like almost semi-concerning that he's not there yet at the same time. But because he was signed as a squad player, so it's not as concerning as like a high dollar guy would be not breaking into the team or something like that. But I really thought today would be a good opportunity for him to like get some minutes. Kind of like shocked to not see him out there.
He's one of those people that on paper he should really work well because he is lightning quick. That kid can run fast as hell. So in theory, that goes along with our ethos. That goes along with the heavy counterattacking, heavy metal football that we play. Of being able to pass it up to him and let him just blaze past defenders as a sub with fresh legs. But we didn't put him on until what, like the 84th minute or something like that.
Yeah. I
Like
always
right
was
at the end of the
almost more
game.
concerned that there was something wrong with Matip, and that's why he was
Right.
coming in, so that we can get him. Because I just don't see why we did the rest Joel for 6 minutes. We could have done that with like 15 minutes to go or something like that too.
Right.
So hopefully it wasn't something that serious. I just feel like
Hopefully, it
it's
was
part
just
of the deal
cramp. You
where
know.
Right.
he's not. I mean, there's a thing to be said about in terms of being able to be like football smart in terms of being understanding how we play and how you use that energy to pressure and stuff like that. I mean, you see Bobby using that role. I mean, to me, when we signed him, the way he plays, the things he can do, at the time, I was thinking he would be Bobby's replacement in terms of being able to provide, because we had nobody, and we kind of maybe Jota obviously now a bit more in terms of what Bobby can bring to the table. I always feel like he was that one, but I feel like like I say, he does that running, but it's not synchronized, with the rest. I mean, we all play with guys forwards who kind of pressure, but at the wrong times where they're pressuring by themselves. It's like, dude, you're just running between three people that are playing like cat and mouse with you, and you're just tiring yourself out.
Mhm.
And then when we're pressuring as a team, you're not going after the guy you should go after.
Because you're tired. Because you just
Because you're tired chasing nothing. Exactly. Yeah. So it kind of like reminds me of that. Sometimes I think it's just a matter of getting in sync with how we play. But I guess part of me says, man, it's been almost a year now, right? Wasn't it last winter we signed him?
Yeah.
By last January, right?
Yeah. It was a January signing.
I
Yeah.
think you're right. Yeah.
So, because I think, we signed him, but he was still able to play Champions League and stuff like that. But yeah, I thought that was kind of like interesting that he wasn't able to get his chance. But at the end of the day, I mean, I've been reading online about how embarrassing it was and stuff. I'm probably getting a shot on goal doesn't look very good, but I think it was just, I mean, I would just explain it more as disappointing rather than embarrassing. So it's behind us now. Obviously, we're still in the Champions League. This was the good. We talked about it a few days ago about having the 9 points from the first 3 games. So that kind of still leading the group. Still everything's under our control. Let's just hope we don't leave it to the last game again. But we'll come to that probably next week. So let's look ahead to the weekend with American Parker celebrating Thanksgiving. This is our last pod from before the weekend game against Brighton early on Saturday morning. So let's start with you, Jamie. What do you expect in terms of lineup? And obviously it's going to be a whole different team playing mindset wise and energy wise and stuff, but do you expect pretty much the same lineup, or Mo is back now? What do you think?
Look, it'll be. It's easy to say, isn't it? Really, I think in this current climate, to throw back to our old days.
It's been 3 pods since we said that.
Yeah, throw back to because we can't say it anymore. It's poison. It's a poison chalice. No, so in all seriousness, it's hard to put yourself in Klopp's shoes now, because with the quick turnaround, it's beginning to be ridiculous. Because I think after Brighton, it's Tuesday, Ajax, so Sunday, Monday, game on Tuesday. It's like there's no rest for these guys. So hopefully they all come back and can have their day off tonight, and a light session tomorrow, and everybody stays fit and healthy, and we can field our best 11, because it's been a while since we've seen our true best 11. Obviously, Verge isn't going to make it, but it's been a while since we've seen our best 11 out there. So it'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see some players coming back into the starting squad. Yeah, I don't know where I'm at with that.
So with the game being away, I mean, are we? One would assume Mo makes his way into the starting 11. Who is coming out from the Leicester game? I mean, assuming the back four is the same as the Leicester game, because I don't see why we would change that. Obviously, Milner slotting back there again will be a lot better than Nico. I don't know if he would take the chance with Nico against Brighton on the counter, but if you're putting Mo back in out of the Leicester game, who are you taking out? Or are you not putting Mo in?
Well, after tonight's performance, you never know, do you?
Well, after tonight's performance, I don't know who you would put in, but
I guess you've got to. You can't not start Mo Salah. Does that mean Curtis doesn't start in midfield and we see something strange and exciting happening there? I don't know. Maybe Fab pushes up into midfield, and who knows? I'm not sure.
It has become more and more challenging to come up with lineups. What we can do, what everybody online does, wait till the end of the game and then come in and criticize the 11 that started and say this is what should have happened. But so Parker, what do you have in terms of the starting 11? If you're working Mo back in there, which, like Jamie says, I think if Mo is healthy, you almost have to have him out there. Are you taking Jota out? Are you taking Jones out? Are you shuffling the formation? What do you do?
I think a little bit of a shuffle up would be good because I think Jota's proven that he definitely belongs either on the starting lineup or with a great sniff at it. I would say shuffle up the lineup, figure out a way to have our traditional or front three and Jones in it. I don't know exactly what formation we can go for to do that and how we'd want to do that besides a 4-1-3-1-3.
I think
that's
a 4-2-3-1 almost.
4-2-3-1. Yeah, I can see that happening. I mean, we have some players that could really make that formation work. Sadly, they're not available, like Thiago and Henderson and like some guys.
Right.
And that's another thing, by the way. I mean, watching the game today, I almost felt like a Hendo out there would make a huge difference in terms of approach. Maybe not necessarily gameplay and performance, but I think in terms of approach, he's another Klopp on the field, basically, barking out orders. So I mean, I think that was like the last game actually before he got injured. I was watching a video of nothing but Hendo yelling the entire game, which is like clips of him basically. Yeah. I mean, and anything from positive reinforcement to negative reinforcement, back to positive, chewing out positive. I mean, it's
every ball that gets played. He's like, "Go on, son." He's commentating the entire game. Like
pretty much. And that's key. I mean, honestly, especially, I mean, you can hear what was impressive to me was the ratio of positive and negative in terms of how much positive and, like giving the energy, enthusiasm there. I mean, if you ever play with somebody like that, or like if you have players like that on your team, that does help. I mean, I know everybody thinks, these guys are professionals and stuff. Does not matter. They're still human. Yeah. It does help. It makes a huge difference to have somebody, especially if you're a guy like Curtis Jones or somebody like that, because he's on the field with Curtis and he's all over Curtis in terms of like going after balls, getting the ball, like, his control, calmness and stuff like that. So I can't wait to get that guy back. Thiago is kind of like an unknown, looks like. It almost sounds like Klopp doesn't even know what's wrong with him, which is kind of scary, I guess. But hopefully a couple more weeks, if we can kind of like get the results we want in the league and, just control the group and go to the next round. I almost feel like maybe if we get lucky, we're working out the worst part of injuries. Here's the knock on wood that it doesn't get worse and we get more as we go in this tighter schedule. But so before we take off, let's get some score predictions. Parker, we'll start with you. Brighton, Liverpool, what you got?
I'm going to go with 3-1 for us. I think it's going to start off close. I think we'll score first, score a second, they'll put one back, and then we'll score a third one to seal it right at the end.
Sounds good to me. Might not even have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I like that. Right, that's nice.
What you got, Jamie?
I mean, there's been a lot of 3-1s. I think we last had Brighton. It was a 3-1. So I'll go. I'll ride your coattails, Parker. Come on, we're going 3-1 the whole way to the bank, mate. Come on, let's go.
I'll be different, I guess. 3-1 does sound good. I mean, the scenario Parker laid out sounds very realistic to me. Or it could be the complete opposite, where we get scored on first, kind of like wake up and go at him, get him back. But I'll go with 2-1. I think it's going to be tighter. I mean, Brighton is not the best going forward, but I still think they will get a goal with this makeshift back line, or if we have a huge leads, just because we get a bit more relaxed sometimes. But yeah, but I'm hoping like we get the 3 points and carry on. I mean, we still have the lesser game. I kind of like almost would erase this game and not base the weekend's performance on the game we watched today. It's kind of hard to gauge these guys on what was out there today in terms of like the disconnect between them, the whole shuffled back line, bunch of 19-year-olds running out there and stuff like that. So I think the weekend will be better. Any parting thoughts, gentlemen, before we go carve the turkey or stuff it or whatever the heck you gotta do?
Well, you better be stuffing it before you start carving it. Now, come on. I'm Irish, even I know that. You're doing things the Irish way, Tim. Come on.
Do you do Thanksgiving at the Jamie household, the Mulholland household?
Oh, we
there?
do, yeah, in America,
Okay.
aye, but not back home. Nobody knows what Thanksgiving is.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
But I mean, I love it because it's just like a mini Christmas part one.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, do wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I love the holiday. It's great. Stuff me full of food. I'm a skinny guy.
I was gonna say it's an excuse to
I'm
eat and
a skinny
drink,
guy.
so.
Every single woman and my mother, my sisters, every single woman I've ever met, my wife included, has tried to fatten me up, and this is my perfect holiday. But parting thoughts, Liverpool wise, I mean, it's not the end of the world, lads and ladies. It's we're still top of the group. We're still joint top of the table. So let's keep the positive.
I was gonna say, even a negative guy like me can see the positive in that shit. I mean, you're on top of everything. Just relax, enjoy Thanksgiving, stuff it, carve it, whatever you gotta do. Are you traveling, Parker, for Thanksgiving, or are you
just going to my parents' house?
Okay. That's probably like the toughest thing about this Thanksgiving to most. I mean, I know, my daughter's coming home actually on the way home from college right now, but it's like just a home party with us.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do the turkey and the classics. This is probably like a holiday we do the classics with, but we kind of like fine tune things for like Christmas and Easter on those holidays. Not that we sit down and like celebrate, but if it's eating and drinking, shit, give me the holiday. I'll take it and celebrate it. So yeah,
worst
happy
case,
Thanksgiving
stay
to
off
all
work.
who's in the U.S. celebrating. If you're not in the U.S. celebrating, shit, still celebrate it. All you got to do is eat and drink is pretty much it. So anybody can handle that. And then we'll be back again next week, hopefully talking about the Brighton victory. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. And thanks to all for listening. See you guys next week.
Awesome.
See you guys.
Okay. I think that was